Today, Harvard released a study on the economy and America's global competitiveness. It found that while corporations have recovered rather well from the Great Recession, workers have not. The authors chose to title their study, "An Economy Doing Half Its Job." And the media ran with it, calling it yet more evidence of income inequality. But if you actually crack open the study, you'll find it's just a bit more complicated than that. The Harvard Business School CEOs and managers surveyed for the report expressed much more concern about the impact of structural weaknesses in areas like K-12 education, the tax code, and infrastructure and long-term economic success. Dan Mitchell is an economist at the Cato Institute and a Forbes contributor. He joins me now in Q&A. Dan, let's start with the concept of this survey, these Harvard business CEOs and business owners. I found it kind of funny that their opinions largely mirrored the economy as a whole. I mean, the S&P 500's up, stock market's doing well, but unemployment is stagnant. So it turns out their opinions mirror that. I don't know if they're really Nostradamuses or if they're more just telling us things we already know here.
They clearly reflect the establishment view of things, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. But when I looked at the report, I kept turning the pages or clicking on the computer screen, looking for where's the beef, where's something real, where's something substantive. Even when they looked at specific policies, you didn't really find that much specific. So it's almost as if someone went out poll testing with their finger in the wind and said, what sounds safe? So we can pretend that we're concerned about things.
Well, that's kind of my point. I don't know how insightful this is, and I don't mean to dismiss this conversation. There's going to be there are some things for us to focus on, but can I show you this as well? This is their opinion over the last 3 years from the same survey on the future of the American economy. And what you can see is from 2010, 12, and 13, 14, every year, put that up, they get a little more optimistic about the economy. Not coincidentally, in my mind, as the economy improves. Again, I feel like this is more a reflection of the economy than a peering, insightful view into where it's going. But you point out what they do is focus on some areas where we need to improve for a long-term, strong economy. I'm going to put this up in here, and Dan, you know what they are, but the audience can see it on their screen. We'll put it up over here on the magic iPad here. The red area there is the places where we are weak and deteriorating. What you should see there is they point out our political system, our education system, and the tax code. Those are the weakest areas they suggest. Dan, that's what you're pointing out is safe, right? I mean, everybody knows these things are our long-term impediments.
Well, I guess the one thing we have to give them credit for, they're at least saying there are problems. Now, unfortunately, on the issue of the tax code and the political system, they really didn't have much to say. And the bad news is, on the one area where they did say a lot, on education, K-12, they basically just said we should throw more money at the system when we spend more than any other country in the world on a per capita basis, and we get results that are in the bottom third among industrialized countries. So I'm not sure doing more of the same. Matter of fact, it's the opposite of insightful. It's sort of just blind marching down the same path.
Let's talk about, Dan, if we can, the way that at least some on the mainstream media and much on the left have interpreted the report. The one thing they're able to take away is that companies are doing well and workers are not. This is a headline from the Huffington Post. It says, America's job creators would rather do anything but create jobs, according to a survey. So the one thing they took away is that income inequality exists, and it's the rich people's fault.
If all you have is a hammer, you think everything is a nail. And for the class warfare crowd that wants to look at everything through the prism of income inequality, yeah, they're going to interpret the report that way. To me, that's about as newsworthy as saying the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Ultimately, and the report doesn't address this, the survey doesn't go into this, but ultimately, if you really care about the well-being of lower-income people, your job should be economic growth. Right. And you don't get economic growth with the kind of class warfare prescriptions that the Thomas Pikettys of the world are proposing.
The one thing we can look at here optimistically is they did say the United States is still strong in entrepreneurship and our upper-level education, our universities. But I think they have the right areas pinpointed. As you said, we all know tax code and lower K-12 education. But now we need to pinpoint how to make those things better. Dan, I appreciate you giving us your time tonight.
Thank you.